What's up, gents, and welcome to the Men's Empowerment Network podcast. My name is Joshua Abel, and I am your host. And today we are going to learn how to rock that routine. So obviously, everyone has some sort of routine. You know, we are creatures of habit, and we love to do the same things at the same time every single day. And you probably have a morning routine, you probably have an evening routine, an eating routine, a workout routine, maybe even a sex routine, however. And all of these routines kind of join together to create our daily life and our daily existence. But let me ask you, how is that routine serving you? Is it serving you? Is it moving you forward in the direction that you want your life to go? Is it inspiring you? Is it motivating you? Is it empowering you? You know, I've talked to a lot of guys who have a disconnect with where they are and where they want to be. And then when we start talking about their daily routine, a lot of times I can point out different things about what they're doing and what they say they want to do. And there is a huge gap in between. And I really noticed this in my life, especially towards the end of last year. The end of last year, I really had a solid foundation of where I wanted my life to move to. I understood the direction I wanted to move, and I knew the feeling that I wanted to create in my life, but I wasn't making any progress. I wasn't moving forward. I didn't feel accomplished. I didn't feel like every day I was taking steps towards that goal. And then I started looking at the routine that I had built for myself. I started looking at my daily habits hour by hour, and I saw that there was a huge disconnect between the two. I would wake up, I wouldn't really have anything planned for the day except, I'd go to work and, whatever happened in between the time I woke up and the time I went to work and the time I got home and the time I went to bed was just kind of up in the air. I, did certain things every day. I brushed my teeth every day. I took a shower every day. I might throw a workout in every once in a while and things like that. But there was no structure to my daily activities. And once I started making modifications to my daily routine, then I started noticing that I was feeling like I was really starting to take steps forward in accomplishing the goals that I have set out for the different areas in my life. And it really started to impact my finances, my health, my relationships, and my spirituality. Every single factor of my life started to evolve once I started making implementable progress on my routine. And there's a lot of scientific research and scientific evidence to the importance of actually having a routine. And one of the things that I found that was really interesting was that the habits that we create, AKA your routine, has a direct impact on the mood that you have every single day. And, I dug a little bit deeper into this, and it really made a lot of sense. And, I am not perfect in my routine by any stretch of the imagination. But on the days that I wake up kind of haphazard, I roll out of bed, I throw on some clothes, and I'm just kind of discombobulated all over the place, those are the days that I can link kind of being in a bad mood, or kind of in a shitty place, or just kind of frustrated and aggravated and just kind of out of sorts. I feel that's a good word for it. I feel out of sorts. And so my mood is really a good reflection on keeping a solid positive routine. And if you follow, someone like Joe Dispenza, he does an interesting take on, the progression of mood into character. And so what I have found is if your habits kind of have an impact on your mood, then after a period of time that will ultimately turn into your character. And so if you are unstructured in the morning and throughout the day, or you just kind of let things fly, that converts into what your mood is. And a mood is generally a temporary disposition on how you're feeling about life in general, how you're feeling about the day, how you're feeling about yourself. That is your mood. But if that mood sustains for a long period of time, weeks, months, it slowly starts to erode into yourself, whether good or bad, into your personality. And then once an even longer period of time happens, that transforms into your character. And I really found this interesting that it starts with something as minute as your routine. And, as of, early January, I started building a more positive routine throughout my day. And it starts as soon as I wake up in the morning. It's very structured. And I have found that, within these past couple of months, my anxiety is much lower. My frustration is much lower. My patience is higher. And I feel more accomplished. I feel more gratified. I feel more successful in life. And so it's really kind of interesting that something seemingly, mundane as a routine has such a huge impact on how you perceive your life. And so what it also does is it strengthens your conscientiousness. When you are deliberate about what you go through every single day, then you start really noticing and start being more present throughout the day. And you're able to, really handle difficult situations much, much better when you have that structured routine, because you're what you're doing is you're breaking away from the chaos or from the haphazardness of just letting life happen to you and forming structure. And so your neural pathways become strengthened to understand that when you do an action, or then you can certainly expect a calculatable response. So I wake up, I meditate. I know that my stress level, because as soon as we wake up, our cortisol levels are at the highest that it's supposed to be throughout the day. That hormone, that chemical is used to actually wake you up. Cortisol is used to wake you up. And so when I meditate first thing in the morning, I mindfully bring that cortisol level down. And I know, based on evidence from the past, that when I meditate, I begin my day with a more peaceful disposition. And so it's cause and effect. And when you set your mind up through a structured routine, and something haphazardly happens throughout the day, you immediately go into a response of being able to take a step back, think through things logically, because you've already set up that structure in your life and you have conditioned yourself to understand that cause and effect are a valid form of response to any sort of situation that happens. Then that is one of the benefits of creating a structured routine. I'll give you a good example. I recently bought a car. It was a couple of weeks ago. And then, I have been on this structured routine for quite a while now. And so I've built up the disposition of, understanding cause and effect and being able to take a step back and think through things logically. Well, I get a text message, or I get a phone call from the dealership. This was a week and a half or whatever after I'd purchased the car. And they said, hey, the lender can't verify your income. They can't get a hold of your job. And I'm like, well, Yeah, that makes perfect sense. I've transitioned out of my old employment, and I'm working now with a company that's totally online. They don't do phone calls or anything like that. So yeah, that makes sense. And I told you guys this. Now, immediately, I could have jumped into a fight or flight response, because now a unexpected condition, unexpected situation has arisen, and I don't know what the outcome's going to be. But fortunately, because I created that structure in my life and I have built a solid foundation of having, a daily routine, I was able to step back from fear. I was able to step back from, flying into a crazy tizzy, because I gave them all the information they needed and they approved me and they gave me the car and da 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 da. Instead, I, I could take a step back, analyze the situation in a logical mind, and then respond in a way that is professional and dignified and manly. I could just handle the situation. And it was really incredible because, a year ago, that would not have been my response. 6 months ago, that would not have been my response. But because I created that structure in my life, I was able to be more conscientious of what was happening, go through a logical process, and handle it like a fucking adult. But these are the things that a routine, a structured, positive routine, can implement into your life. And in addition to that, it reaffirms the decisions that you have made in your life, the goals that you have set for your life. And regardless of what area of your life you're focusing on, these routines, these structured routines, these positive routines that you're setting up, every single time that you do them, it reaffirms that you have made this commitment and that you are working towards that goal. So if, a goal of yours is to maybe pay off debt, what is a structured routine that you can get behind and be consistent with in order to achieve that goal? It might be making a little more than minimum payments on those credit cards every single month. It might be splitting up those credit card payments into weekly payments, so it's not a huge chunk, coming out of your paycheck every other week or every month. If you're working on your relationships with your spouse or your wife or your husband or your boyfriend or your girlfriend or friends or, coworkers, what are some systematic positive routines that you can get into in order to solidify and build upon those relationships in a positive way? I'm kind of seeing someone at the moment, and he is, in Florida while I'm here in South Carolina. And while we haven't gotten it all figured out yet, one of the things that I've become more apt to do is do video calls with him. So instead of just text messaging, every single day, every once in a while jumping on a video call so that we could see each other face to face. We can experience each other's energy. We can, read each other's facial expressions and understand the tonality in each other's voices so that we can get a deeper understanding and a deeper connection about what's going on in each other's lives. And this is something that, again, I would not have done, 6 months ago. I hate talking on the phone. Hate it. It's one of the worst things in the world for me. But I have found that video calling is a little bit better because then I can actually see the person and understand, again, body language and tonality and things like that, and form that connection. I would much rather have a conversation with someone face to face than over the phone. That's just how I roll. And, if it's not going to be face to face, then text message, because I don't want to talk on the phone. I hate it. But video calling and setting up that routine of actually taking that action has more solidified, our personal relationship. So what are things that you could do with your husband, your wife, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your employers? What kind of routine can you set up in order to form that either romantic connection or that professional connection or that friendship connection, that platonic connection? What routines are you able to get into in order to build upon that goal? Spirituality is something that, I've always considered myself a spiritual person. However, within the past couple of months, I wanted to take the next steps in that. I really wanted to harness a connection to the universe, to a purpose, to something greater than myself. And so part of my routine involves prayer and meditation, because that was a goal and is continuing to be a goal in my life. And so implementing something like that into my daily routine that I can be consistent with and grow upon has moved me forward in achieving that greater spiritual connection. And of course, health. We all know about the gym routine. We know about the health routines, the eating habits, and things like that. But what routines can you set up in your life in order to achieve the health goals that you want? Diabetes is rampant. Overconsumption of processed foods is rampant. What areas of your life, with your physical and your mental health, can you implement, strategic, positive, structured routines around in order to achieve those goals? Creating that consciousness about what you're doing, every single day in order to move forward in those goals. And it helps reduce the impulsiveness that a lot of us feel, and I'm no stranger to being impulsive. Let me tell you, certainly not. I get a wild hair up my ass, and I'm like, okay, boom, let's do it. Let's go right now before I have the time to change my mind. I'm going to get up and do it. I'm going to do it right now. It's crazy. But when I have found that when I am impulsive like that, I don't get the satisfaction of actually moving towards a goal. It might be fun for the time frame that the impulsivity lasts, but then by the end of it, I'm like, oh well, fuck. I completely blew off, what I wanted or what I had planned to do today in order to do this nothingness. And same with shopping. I just bought this sweatshirt from TikTok on an impulse, and now I'm paying the consequences because, my debit card got compromised. I started seeing charges that I didn't make on my debit card. Now I've got to go through that process. But that was, like I said, this is a journey that I'm continuing to build upon. And I found that, I waited quite a while to get this sweatshirt. And so, I see that this structure, this routine that is starting to work. Definitely not perfect yet, but it's in the process of getting better. And that's ultimately what it's all about. And when I am following, my structured routine, I have certain times that I do things throughout the day. I find that mentally, I'm already prepared to do that activity. And so when I get into it, I can easily step into a space of flow to where my mind just kind of goes blank and I get into it. I get into it hardcore. And once that period of flow ends, then I feel so accomplished and I feel so gratified because it was, and the time just goes by so quickly. I'll be doing my work and all of a sudden 2 hours has gone by and I'm like, holy shit, where'd the time go? But I was in that state of flow because I'd already mentally prepared for, the task at hand, because I'd already had built that structure of at this time, I'm going to do this. And so, we really recognize this need for structure when we're kids. I have been spending the past couple of days with my sister, her 3 kids, because my dad was in town. And, kids are impulsive all the time. Uncle Josh, let's go play hide and seek. Uncle Josh, let's go do this. Uncle Josh, just kind of all over the place. And if they don't have that structure, then that's how their entire day is. But fortunately, my sister, being a good mother, has put in some sense of structure into their life. They get up at approximately the same time every day. They have breakfast approximately the same type of day, and they have started to build that routine. Of course, there's playtime and impulsive time structured in there, but they're not running haphazardly all over the place. And I don't know about you, but I'm still a kid at heart. And so, left to my own devices, without the absolute structure of some sort of routine, I would be going crazy. I'd be all over the place. I'd have my specific work times, but outside of that, but even at work, I would need some sort of structure and routine. Otherwise, I'd be working on this and working on this and then working on this and then working on this. And by the end of the day, I put little pieces in all over the place, but nothing really got done. And those days you leave work, you're exhausted, you're tired, you're frazzled, you're stressed, feel like you've been pulled in a million different directions. Well, it's because you have absolute, but it wasn't other people pulling you. It was you allowing yourself to be pulled in different directions. You didn't have that structure that you needed in order to feel accomplished. And, even at a desk job or in a shop, if you have that structure, you go in with a mindset of, this is what I'm going to accomplish every single day, or this is what I'm going to accomplish before 10 a.m. And you have that mindset going in, you enter into that state of flow. And before you know it, 10 o'clock has arrived. Task is done. Holy shit. I got the whole rest of the day, do whatever the fuck I want. How cool is that feeling? With my structured routine, I feel more accomplished before 8 a.m. than most people do all week. And it's insane. It's insane. And so, really having a structured routine that corresponds to the goals that you want to achieve in life, a structured routine that makes you feel fulfilled, makes you feel empowered, makes you feel inspired and motivated, not like you're just kind of drifting through life, is such a crucial element to feeling fulfilled and feeling like a man and feeling like you are a part of something awesome. And that something awesome is your life. You are structuring your life. And that is a cool, cool feeling. So there are basically 2 types of routines. And I have a mixture of both. And, if you have any sort of goals that you want to accomplish, you probably have both types of routines kind of mixed in together. Now, one of them is an intentional routine. And these are the tasks that you have chosen to do. You are mindful of them and they move you forward towards that goal. And then there are automatic routines. And these are the ones that we just kind of blank out. We are mindless about doing, kind of like driving to work. If you drive to work the same way, the same time, every single day, when you get to work an hour later or whatever, you're pulling in the parking lot and you look around and you're like, how the shit did I get here? I do not remember that drive. I don't remember anything that happened in the car for the past hour. I just kind of lost all sense of space and time. That's an example of an automatic routine. And if we want to feel more purposeful and more driven, it's a good idea to start moving those automatic routines into the intentional column. And one thing that I have noticed, and this is, something that I would imagine everyone has in their daily routine, is brushing your teeth. It's a seemingly mundane task that, we do. We go through, we put the toothpaste on the toothbrush, we shove it in our mouth, and we start, brushing away. And most of us don't think about the act. I have found that when I brush my teeth, I am absolutely present. And I spend about 2.5 minutes brushing my teeth. And I go quadrant by quadrant. I start on the lower left-hand side of my mouth, and I move around to the lower right-hand side of my mouth. And then I flip the toothbrush over and I start on the back side of the lower right-hand side of my mouth. And then I move back towards the back side of my lower left hand. And then I move over to the upper front right side of my mouth, and I move across to the upper left hand front side of my mouth. And then I flip it to the back side and I go in reverse. And then I do an extra pass over the front portion of my mouth, and then an extra pass towards on the back portion of my mouth. And the reason that I know exactly where my toothbrush is, and I can actually feel my toothbrush right now moving across my teeth, is because I am so mindful about that act. It's almost, to me, I actually look at it as sort of a mouth massage. And I go into this meditative state while I'm brushing my teeth. It's kind of weird. In fact, I used to think it was weird, but now it's become routine. But the point is, that is no longer an automatic part or an automatic routine. It is very, very intentional. And that 2.5 minutes that I spend brushing my teeth is something that I feel moves me forward in the day. I feel accomplished after I brush my teeth. I feel successful after I brush my teeth. And I tell you what, once I started implementing this practice, I have never gotten so many compliments on my smile. The first time that someone told me, "You really have a beautiful smile," I took a step back and I'm like, "The hell are you talking about? No one has, what?" They're like, "Oh my God, your teeth are so pretty. How do you get them so pretty?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I brush them." And they're like, "Okay, you're an asshole." But then I started putting two and two together. It was after I started doing that routine. And now that I got that gratification, that validation from other people, I specifically do that every single day, and I'm mindful of it. It's pretty impressive. And you'll find that when you start implementing, mindful, intentional things into your routine, other people will probably start noticing before you even do. They'll start noticing that you're more structured in life. You are more disciplined. You are more present. You are more grateful. You are more driven. You're more passionate. You're more, all of these other positive attributes that outside people tend to see before we even see it in ourselves. And that is really cool, especially if they're brave enough to acknowledge it. That's a pretty cool feeling. And that is even further validation that you are creating and moving towards the goals that you want to achieve in your life, because you have started with a structured, disciplined, intentional routine. And it has altered your mood. Crazy how that works. Pretty impressive. So my routine is kind of unique. And I'm going to go through that routine, but just listen to it as it is. And we're going to get into the nuts and bolts of creating your own routine in a minute. But ultimately, what I decided at the beginning of this year was that every single day, I would work to become a better man than I was the day before. You might call it a New Year's resolution. I call it more of a life transformation, because New Year's resolutions usually fall through the cracks within about 3 weeks. For me, this was more of a life evolution. And again, it was to become a better man than I was the day before. And so every single morning, I wake up between 3 a.m. and 4 a.m. My body just wakes up. I do not use an alarm clock. My body just wakes up at that time. And then, I get my day started. I roll out of bed. And, of course, my brain's a little foggy because I'm going through the brain waves from theta as it slowly climbs up to an alpha brainwave. And I stumble out of my room and I get the coffee pot ready, and I, hit the on button for the coffee pot so that it can start brewing, because Lord knows I love my coffee. And as that's brewing, I go back to my room and I get on my knees and I pray. Now, I am not a religious person. I don't follow any specific denomination or anything like that. But as I mentioned previously, one of my goals was to create a greater connection spiritually. And so I get on my knees and I pray that, and I call my higher power God. And for me personally, that means the energy of the universe, the power within us all, the power in nature, whatever. But please, by all means, take it as you will. I get on my knees and I pray to God to, help me go through the day with courage, help me go through the day with compassion, help me go through the day with, a giving, kind, generous heart. And I ask that he help me, and I say he as, just a pronoun to use. I ask that he aid me in becoming a better man than I was the day before. And that lasts maybe, I don't know, about 2 minutes or so, and by that time, the coffee pot is done, and I will get up and I will go to the coffee pot and pour myself my first cup of coffee. And then I go out to the back patio and I enjoy my cup of coffee. And I am a smoker. That's still something that, I need to address and be more, that's a goal. We'll just leave it at that. So I smoke 2 cigarettes while I'm having my cup of coffee. And while I'm on the back patio, I will do one of two things. I will either just sit in silence and enjoy the still night around me. Remember, it's about somewhere between 3 and 4 in the morning. So there's hardly any noise out there, which is great. Or I will scroll through TikTok. And my feed, what do you call it? The algorithm has been programmed to give me mostly videos about mind shift, about energies, about things to help my subconscious and things like that. That is my primary feed. And so I might hear something from Dr. Joe Dispenza. I might hear something from Abraham Hicks, Alan Watts, people of that nature. Those are the types of videos that pop up, as I'm scrolling through. And if something catches my ear, then I'll just put it down, enjoy the video, the audio of the video, and enjoy my coffee and my cigarettes. And then following that, after I finish that, I will go back into the room and I will do about a 20-minute meditation. Now, meditation for me is absolutely critical. It has become a non-negotiable in my life. And I start my day out with it because, again, those cortisol levels are so high at the beginning of the day right after you wake up. And then, of course, with coffee, you kind of spike those anyway. The adrenaline starts pumping. And so I need something to bring me down, because it used to be that once I woke up, my mind was immediately going in 1,000 different directions. It was being pulled on what I had to do for work and what I wanted to do at the gym and what I needed to do for my dog and what I needed to do for this person and what I needed to do to accomplish something financial. And it was all over the place, to the point where my head would start spinning like within 20 minutes of waking up. And so for me, meditation has been instrumental in just taking a fucking chill. Just calming down my mind to start the day. And it has led to so much more focus and so much more productivity throughout the rest of the day. And so I have made that a non-negotiable. I do it every single day. And, I started off small with my meditation practice. I started off with just like 5 to 10 minutes of guided meditation, because I would find that when I first started this practice, even when I had something going on, my mind was still going in 100 different directions. But it was that practice day after day after day that got me to the point where now I'm doing about a 20-minute meditation with just like soft music. I'll do bio beats, or, a lot of times what I do is I'll go on YouTube and I just really do an introspective look at how I'm feeling for that day. What do I need for that day to help me be more focused, to help me concentrate more, to help me be productive? Sometimes it's gratitude. Sometimes it's a grounding. If I'm kind of all over the place, I need to get grounded. If I'm feeling a little anxious, something to help calm me down. If I need to practice patience, or something of that, if I'm feeling frustrated or aggravated with a situation or a person, then I might need to do a meditation on patience. And so I really take a body scan, take an internal scan of how I'm feeling, and then center my meditation around that. And like I said, I've gotten up to 20 minutes every single morning. And, I'll just do a YouTube search for meditation music on gratitude. and then I'll put it down, put in my headphones, and I will I'll just go into a meditative state. And it takes time in order to get to that point, because at this point, my brain waves have already jumped up to an alpha level. And so, in order to get back down to a theta state, it takes about 5 minutes or so. And that's focusing on breathing. When thoughts do come into my head, I acknowledge them. And then I kind of just blow them away, with an external breath. And that really helps me drop my brain waves down from an alpha down to a theta state, which is the optimal point for meditation. And the remainder of the 15 minutes, I'm able to focus and regain my thoughts and come to a point where I feel confident that I'm able to continue through the rest of the day in a productive, successful manner. And then once I'm done with my meditation, about 20 minutes, I will traditionally do either a quick yoga, about a 20-minute yoga, or a stretch. And I do that because I've noticed, especially since I'm getting older, my joints are a little inflamed and my muscles are a little tight. And there's something going on with my hips right now. I'm actually in the process of looking into finding a chiropractor to see if they might be able to, I'm sure they're out of alignment. So, and my vertebrae, there's probably something going on there. So I need to get cracked back into alignment. But I will generally do a nice 20-minute stretch or a nice deep yoga practice. Very simple. I'm not standing on my head or, throwing both legs behind my head or anything like that. Just something very intentional, something very to kind of loosen up all of those muscles. Because I don't know about you, as I sleep, those muscles kind of tighten up. Especially my quads, my hamstrings, my calves, they just kind of tighten up. And so a good morning stretch is a great way to not only give you some energy, but also to kind of bring yourself more centered and focused to the remainder of the day. And, that is my morning routine. And then, so by this time, it's generally about 5 o'clock in the morning. Still, the world is asleep, and I've already accomplished more than most people do all day. And at 5 o'clock, I have since transitioned into a job, which I love, which allows me to work from home and make my own hours. It's the coolest, most freeing thing ever. I'm training AI chatbots, which is crazy to me, but it's something I fell into. I'm so very fortunate to be able to do that. And I know not everyone else has the opportunity to do that. And so we'll talk about that in a few minutes. But 5 o'clock, I have a specific goal of how many hours I want to achieve in the week. And so I know what the rest of my day is going to look like because I have it, kind of mapped out in my head. I know how many hours I can put in on a specific day. And so at 5 o'clock, I start my work so that I can go ahead and pump out a couple of hours and feel fulfilled before my next step, which is, as I have been very clear and open about, I am an alcoholic, and that has certainly been a journey that I've gone on. But one of the things that helps me improve my spirituality and my connection to other people is attending Alcoholics Anonymous meetings. And I do that at 8 a.m. every single day on Zoom. And it's fantastic. It's so great. If you're in that position, I highly recommend it. If you're not, and you're looking for connection with something, maybe there's some sort of group online that you can jump into. Zoom is a fantastic platform for making connections with people around the world, especially if you're an introvert like me. You kind of thrive on being solo and being alone and just kind of being by yourself. Zoom is an amazing platform for that. And, I've been attending these meetings. I just passed 7 months of sobriety, and it's been revolutionary for me. It's really helped me in this process and in this journey, and I get to connect with other people without getting too close. you know, I don't have to be all touchy feely or like in the same energy bubble as other people. I can be in the comfort of my home and still have that connection. It's awesome. And so I do that for an hour, and then I get back to work. I want to put in a couple more hours of work. So I'll work for another 2.5 hours or so before doing lunch. And because I wake up at 3 or 4 in the morning, I will schedule, again, intentionally scheduled, a quick power nap around noon, 12:30, somewhere around there. And my power naps last 20 minutes to a half hour. And, I fit that in. I wake up, my brain's kind of refreshed because, after having been up for 9 hours or so already, having put in, a lot of focus into a couple of different things, and then, eating, my brain kind of fogs up and I need a refresher. And so I take it. And, at noon, 12:30, somewhere around there, I'll take a quick power nap. And then it's time to hit the gym. And I'm going to be completely honest with you. I am just now getting back into this. I took a 2.5 month hiatus from the gym. My diet has been shit. My workout routine has been shit. And I am really feeling the effects of it. And so as of last week, I started implementing that back into my routine. Again, it's all about progress. And it's all about, doing things to move you forward in the goals that you want to achieve. And, over the past 2.5 months, I've certainly noticed my body changing to not really be what I want it to look like, and feeling like a lot of inflammation, a lot of fatigue, and things like that. And so getting back on, that healthy eating, healthy eating habits, that gym routine is critical for my goals. And, I'll go to the gym for about an hour and a half, 2 hours, and then, come home, finish up with however many hours of work I still need to do in order to achieve that goal. And then around 8 o'clock, or 6 o'clock, I'll break for dinner. If I need to finish up any additional work, I'll do that. And then at 8 p.m., I jump into another meeting. It's a different meeting, different people. And, these are just additional connections that I've made through this Zoom platform, which is ridiculously awesome. And then I'll say my nightly prayers, thanking my higher power for the day that I had, for feeling productive, for feeling successful, for my sobriety, for, just giving thanks, gratitude for the day that I've had. Because every single day before I go to bed, I review my day, and 9 days out of 10, I guess we only have 7 days a week, usually 6 days out of 7, usually even 7 days out of 7, I feel accomplished. I feel successful. I feel empowered and motivated and inspired and, driven. And it has to do, I believe, with this routine. And so I know you're probably asking, or you're probably shouting at your phone or however you're listening to this, Joshua, that's insane. First of all, there is no way in hell I'm getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning. You, my friend, are a nut job. And I would not blame you at all for saying that, because it's a little crazy. My body just, for some reason, has this automatic alarm clock that goes off between 3 a.m. and 4 a.m. And I just listen to it. That's just how my body works. And the same thing goes on the weekends. I am up between 3 a.m. and 4 a.m. And my routine on the weekend really closely mimics my routine through the week. I will allow myself a little bit of free time here and there, but I schedule it in. It's intentional. I never sit around and am bored. I'm never wandering around my place like, oh, I don't know what to do. What do I do with my time? Never. It never happens to me because I know the goal that I have in mind. I know what I have to do. But having those moments of relaxation, having those moments where I can just veg out are okay. And I do it intentionally. What day was it? Last weekend. I think it was on Sunday. It was rainy. It was kind of nasty out. I intentionally did nothing. I had a movie day, and I think I watched like 3 movies on Netflix. That's all I did. I cuddled with my dog, and I intentionally had a movie day. And I felt okay with it. I still felt accomplished. I still felt grateful at the end of the day. I still felt successful. My body had reached the point, my mind had reached the point where I just needed to veg out. And I intentionally took that time. I intentionally put it into the routine for that day. Now, again, my weekends generally flow pretty well and pretty closely related to that of my week. I'll put in some work. It may not be specifically for my job, but on Sundays, I will dedicate Sundays to, meal prepping for the week, which is a huge help. Throughout the week, I never have to ask myself, what am I going to have? What am I going to have for dinner? What am I going to make for lunch? I don't know if I'm going to eat breakfast or not. So much time is wasted debating about what you're going to eat. It's insane. And I used to do that too. But I started meal prepping close to 4 years ago. And it changed my life. I don't spend excess money going through drive-thrus. Drive-thrus are not in alignment with the goals that I have physically and mentally or financially, because, you used to be able to go and get a meal at McDonald's or whatever for $5 or $6. Now it's 8 or 9. And, I think last time I went to Taco Bell, I dropped like $20, insane. So they are not the value meals they make themselves out to be. Not to mention, I felt like shit for about 3 days afterwards. But meal prepping is something that I do on Sunday, and I'm very, very consistent with it. And it saves time in which can be expended moving towards other goals. So meal prepping is huge for me on Sunday, and I enjoy it. That's actually therapeutic for me because I get to get creative in the kitchen. I get to rattle some pans. I get to try something new. And go grocery shopping and make lists and all this other stuff that I love to do. And, I've gotten really good at it. I don't mind saying I've gotten really good at it. Not just the planning and the prepping, but the cooking of it. When someone asks if what I make is good, I just kind of look at them like, yeah, I made it. And I know that sounds arrogant. That sounds very egotistical and things like that, but can't help if it's true. But meal prepping is huge for me on Sunday. That's part of my Sunday routine. And so is working on this podcast. And honestly speaking, the past couple of weeks, I've gotten away from that routine. And Sundays have not felt right with me. You know, Sundays just there's something weird about it. There's something that just doesn't seem or feel right. What happened? I got away from the routine that made me feel successful, that made me feel empowered, that made me feel inspired. And so, immediately I made that connection. Something's not right. What's going on with my routine? You're getting away from it. Okay, let's move back forward. Let's be intentional about your Sunday routine. And so here I am. It's Sunday right now when I'm recording this. I've made an outline. I'm going through the outline. I'm recording, and then I have to edit, and then schedule it for posting for Monday. And so getting back on that routine. My weekend flows very closely to my week routine. And, a lot of doctors will tell you that your weekend routines should really mimic your weekday routines in especially sleeping and eating. Your body becomes very accustomed to, if you have to wake up during the week at 6 a.m., and then all of a sudden you throw the weekend in there and you're not up until 9, 10. What happens Monday? Your body kind of is disheveled and it's kind of all out of sorts because that alarm clock goes off at 6 a.m. and you're like, what the fuck? Damn it. It's Monday. Now I'm all haphazard and now I got to go crazy and now I fucking hate Mondays and I have never, since I've been adamant and structured about my routine, I have never hated a Monday because my sleep cycle doesn't change. Throughout the weekend, I'm still on that sleep cycle. So when Monday rolls around, my body's still used to it. Same with the eating, eating about the same time of day, every single day, eating the same types of foods. I mean, I'm not going to, eat a bologna sandwich every single day, unless you want me to throw up, first of all. But, eating healthy foods that nourish my body, foods that, are good for me. Because remember that Taco Bell story? I tell you what, my stomach, it knew, and it was not happy. So throw in those craziness into your system, sleep cycle, eating cycle, and nutritional, just throws your body completely out of whack. And it really messes up with your cognitive thinking and, every other aspect of your life. So creating that structured routine that serves you, that inspires you, that motivates you, that empowers you. If you haven't done it yet, that may be part of why you feel, like you're kind of drifting through life. Like you don't really have a purpose. Like you're kind of lost day to day. You feel unfulfilled. You just maybe frustrated, maybe aggravated. So how are you going to create that structured routine that serves you? And understand that verbiage. That is very specific verbiage. It serves you. You do not serve your routine. Your routine serves you. And so think about your life. Think about the life that you want, the direction that you want to move in. What does that look like? What does that feel like? What type of man do you want to be? Ultimately, that is the vision that will dominate what your routine looks like. And so your routine is exactly that. It is your routine. And you have to determine what you need to do in order to move forward towards the goals you want. We're all on our own path. We're all on different journeys. And so it would not make sense for everyone to follow the same routine. I have paid tens of thousands of dollars to coaches and trainers and for online courses and for all of this self-development stuff. And in its own right, I've gotten something from every single course and coach and everything. But the one thing I learned was, they cannot dictate what my routine should be. Can't do it. And they try. And I've tried their routines. And I would get frustrated. I would get aggravated. It wasn't moving me in the direction that I wanted to go. And eventually I would just give up and go back to old habits that didn't serve me. Why? Because it wasn't my routine. It didn't speak to me. It didn't empower me. That was theirs. Several coaches that I had say, you need to get up at 5 a.m, and the first thing you need to do is take a cold shower. I tried that. I did that for a while. I hated it. It sucked. It's the worst part of my day, taking a fucking cold shower. Are you insane? And every time I would do it, I would get frustrated and aggravated and resentful. I'm like, this motherfucker. Now, there are medical and psychological benefits to taking an ice cold shower. And I will do it every once in a while on my own accord, on my time, when I want to. Not because some quote unquote guru told me I need to do it at 5 a.m. Go fuck yourself. No. And so you need to craft a routine that works for you. When you're done with the routine, you should feel empowered. You should feel inspired. You should feel motivated. And, listen to your body and listen to your mind. Listen to your heart. You intuitively know what you need to do. Your body knows when to wake up. And I would personally recommend throwing away the alarm clock, because that is an external force that is shocking your body into something it's not ready for. If you find that you're not able to get up on time, then you may need to listen to your body and go to bed earlier. Truth be told, if you have to have an alarm clock to wake up, then you may need to internalize that, understand why, and then do something about it. And so when you naturally wake up, have you ever woken up before your alarm? Kind of feel refreshed, kind of feel rejuvenated because your body has gotten the rest that it needs. Your mind has gotten the sleep that it needs to rejuvenate itself, to rebuild itself, and you're ready for the day. That's how it's supposed to feel. And so when you wake up, it's completely up to you. Wake up without an alarm. That is part of your routine. If you are naturally someone who sleeps in late and your body needs that, then make sure the rest of your routine follows suit. If you do meditation, if you work out, if you do any of these things, crafting your own routine with the understanding that everything you do intentionally should be moving you forward towards your goals. That is how you craft a personalized routine that means something to you. And it has to mean something to you. It has to speak to you. It has to be engaging to you. And understand that when you create a new routine, it's okay to change one little thing at a time. That's what I did. One little thing at a time. After I woke up, I didn't immediately start praying and meditating and doing yoga and, doing all this other stuff. I took it one step at a time. I introduced one new element at a time. I started with prayer. Okay. I need to change my routine so that it's better in alignment with the goals that I have. Spirituality is something that I strive for. So let's start with prayer. And I did. I started with prayer. And then once that became routine, once I didn't even have to think about it anymore, but was intentional about it, then I started introducing meditation. So these routines are changeable, and we call it habit stacking. So we start with something small and then we build upon it. This allows the body to slowly get adjusted. When you introduce a complete shift in everything all at once, it's too much of a shock for your mind and for your body. And you will immediately or shortly thereafter start resenting the entire change of it. But if you introduce things slowly and build upon them, let your body, let your mind, let your heart get used to things before you start introducing something new, you'll be more apt to be successful at it. And understand your routine is changeable. Your routine can be changed at any time. If you try something and you try it for, a specific period of time, generally it takes about 20 days or so for a habit to form so that it becomes routine. If you're trying something and it's just not working for you, it's okay to change it. Just because Tony Robbins or, some other guru says this is what you should do at this time in the morning and blah, 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 doesn't mean that it's right for you. That's not what it means. And so trying new things, seeing if it works, seeing if it speaks to you, seeing if you feel empowered by it. That's how you're going to build the most dynamic routine for you. And one thing that I would highly recommend that you include in your routine is, some time for self-care. And you can take that to mean whatever you want. Guys, when they think of self-care, they think of women going to, get their nails done or getting their hair did or, going for a massage or whatever. But where do you get your energy from? Doing what? Maybe it's doing nothing. Practicing that self-care just to check out, be with you, and doing things that bring you peace and joy and passion in life will be revolutionary for your routine. It's kind of like a reward. I'm structured, I'm disciplined. This is my reward for following this pattern, following these steps in order to achieve this goal. This is my, me time. And I feel good and energized and rejuvenated because of it. That's for you. But most importantly, have fun with it. If you do not like the routine that you have, only you can change it into something that you enjoy and love and gather strength from. So I really hope this helped you in some way. Guys, thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this podcast and, supporting these efforts in really empowering men to take charge of their own lives, of creating a difference and walking a path of purpose. If you got value from this, I would greatly appreciate, comments and likes and shares. Let's get this word out there. Let's make it so men feel okay with empowering themselves. Too often, men put themselves on the back burner. Too often, men structure their lives to be the provider and, be the strength for others around them. And they so seldomly, take the necessary time to strengthen and empower themselves. And so that's what this podcast is all about. So I hope you got value out of this, my friends. If you did, check me out again next week. There's plenty of other episodes right now, but I am going to follow this routine and continuously be consistent in pumping out these episodes. So again, my friends, thank you so much, and cheers to you.